How's it going, pal?
How you doing, mate? You okay?
Yeah, not bad, pal. Oh, well.
Good, good. Well, first and foremost, thank you very much for joining me. Not long till fight night now. You look like you're ready for it. You look buzzing.
Yeah, mate, I honestly can't wait. I mean, I need a trip to my barber at a minute. Yeah, I'm saving up for fight week, so a little bit of a mess at the minute. Obviously focused on the task at hand. But yeah, mate, I can't wait.
Yeah. What's the overall feeling for you at the minute? Like, because it's been a little while since you've fought now, isn't it?
Yeah, I've not done the maths, but I think it's about 16 months. It would have been since I fought last. So I don't know. To be fair, it doesn't feel unusual. I'm used to this process. You know, I've coached fighters all of last year, even this year. Even when my own fighters are fighting, I still get nervous. I still go through this process of, obviously I'm not doing the weight cut of the fight myself, but guiding them through it. So yeah, it doesn't actually feel like it's been that long.
Yeah. I've heard other coaches before say, you mentioned there, like you still get nervous, for your fighters fighting. What's worse for you, like the nerves for your own fight or your fighters fighting?
Mm. You know what? I would genuinely say probably my fighters. I mean, it's different types of nerves. So, for example, I know that if I lose, or if I suffer, let's say, a physically traumatic loss, I can overcome it. It's I know the mental fortitude I've got and I possess. So yeah, I know it's not going to impact me mentally or physically too much. Whereas I'll never wish that upon, my own fighters as they are my friends. So, seeing them hurting physically or mentally definitely makes it a very worrying moment. But obviously, that being said, when it's me fighting, I'm in the cage. I definitely don't want to go out there be embarrassed or do my loved ones almost an injustice. I want to make everyone proud, myself, my coaches, like I said, my family, my loved ones. So yeah, they're both nerve wracking for different reasons.
Yeah. Yeah. So obviously this fight coming up, it is your debut fighting on an Octagon card, but obviously you have been involved within Octagon to some capacity in the past. Obviously, you helped train uh, Paul Smith and Jake Quickenden for the Stage to the Cage fight. Were you impressed with those two? They seemed like they put their all into it.
Yeah, you know what? So it was Paul I trained first, and I mean I was a little bit taken back when he messaged me, and wanted to get a session in. So I was absolutely over the moon because I'm a huge fan, and I don't know, you expect these celebrity fighters to maybe um A, be unskilled, but B, not put that much work in, And he shocked me. I think I did a 2 hour session with him. You know what I mean? We just grinded for 2 hours and he stuck it out. And yeah, he really impressed me. And then with Jake, I'm sure many people agree, I'm sure he's come across this a lot as well, but he's a good looking bastard. You know what I mean? So he's the type of guy that you think, man, I bet he's a dickhead.
Yeah.
Just fucking so good looking. He's tall, he's handsome. Obviously he's a celebrity, etc., etc. And then when I met him, he was such a down to earth, nice guy. That really took me back just initially, and obviously super skilled. And to be fair, when I say Jake Quickendon works hard, that guy was a savage. Like again, he would be doing like 1 hour sessions with me. He would either be coming an hour before or staying an hour after, welly in the bag, and he was really meticulous with his diet. He was basically working like a professional athlete. So yeah. Jake was exceptional.
Yeah. I agree with you on that perception of Jake, to be honest, because you look at him and think you're just going to be a knobhead. But no, even in everything you've seen from him and like after the fight and things like that, he did come across really well.
Mm.
And it got to a point where in the end you kind of were just happy for both of them. Like whoever was going to win, you just wanted it to go well, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, so what's your overall opinion on Octagon as a whole?
So without a doubt, I can confidently say. there's two shows that have impressed me and that I genuinely feel are the best shows in Europe. And it would have to be Oktagon, and that's just no bias attached, but just from watching it as a fan and obviously being involved with the company now, they are exceptional with everything, to the production value, the professionalism, almost the kindness of the staff, I suppose. They've just really got the fighters and the sport's best interest at heart. Yeah, and saying that, I'd also say KSW. I've been to a few KSW shows, and they almost give me like throwbacks of Pride era. I don't know why. There's just something about KSW that just I love. So I would genuinely say those two are the biggest in Europe at this present moment. I mean, you look at the statistics in terms of like, seats being sold, and they're up there with UFC and Pride. So I think the statistics would back me up as well.
Mm.
And just the level of athlete. I mean, Jesus, you look at the Oktagon roster or the KSW roster, and it's truly exceptional. A lot of those fighters could go into the UFC and hold their own without a problem. So yeah, super impressed with Oktagon and absolutely blessed to be a part of them.
Yeah, I mean, you've only got to look at this card next week. You've obviously got yourself on there. You've got Shamrock. You've got Dennis Frimpong, Aaron AB. You've got Sam Creasy. I mean, the list goes on and on. So it's looking to be an exceptional night.
No,
Um,
yeah, definitely. I mean, like the two names you said there, like immediately I'm saying AB and Shamrock, dude, give it a year or two, and I think we'll see them in the UFC conclusively.
yeah, absolutely. Couldn't agree more. Um, so as I mentioned at the start, this is your first fight in about 16 months. Has having that time out of the cage been difficult for you, or has having the gym been a savior in that sense?
Yeah, so the sport is definitely, and again, I think many fighters will attest to this. The sport is therapeutic in some ways. If I go, a week or two without training, I start to lose my marbles a little bit. Not only because I love the sport, but I just got so much energy, and I need to exert myself. Um, so with that in mind, yes, having the sport, having the gym, still, even though I wasn't been able to fight, um, has been fantastic. It's kept me on the straight and narrow almost. I can't deny it has been tough. Obviously, I've had doubts about my career last year from just, obviously, as everyone knows, I had many fights fall through from no fault of my own. It just luck wasn't on my side. And there was genuine thoughts of retirement during that year. The luck isn't on my side. I'm gonna, just resort to coaching now and, put my all into coaching like I do fighting. But yeah. Fortunately, obviously, I got the Oktagon call, and I can pursue my dreams a little bit more. That being said, I'm still coaching. I still am super passionate about coaching. I've got a plethora of fighters underneath me that I'll still give them my all. But in terms of what I want with my coaching, obviously, I put that on the back burner for now. Get my career over and done with, and then I'll reinstigate some of my plans when it comes to coaching.
Yeah. Do you find you have to sort of change your mindset in any way when it comes to transitioning from coaching to training for your own fights?
Interesting. Uh, yes and no. There is I mean, I'm not a selfish person. I like to think people around me will attest to that. Um, maybe that'll be the downfall of my MMA career. I think a lot of you know highly successful athletes are selfish. There's no two ways about it. For somebody to be incredibly successful within this sport and any sport in general, I suppose you've got to be selfish to some degree. And I would like to think I'm selfless, and that's I don't want to blow smoke up my own ass, but maybe that's what makes me quite a good coach. But yeah, so I suppose there is a little shift in being a little bit more selfish, focusing on myself and investing a bit more time in myself. But that being said, I can't change my characteristics.
Hmm.
I'll always, have other people's best interest almost before my own. So yeah, maybe not so much. Maybe not so much.
Do you look at this as an opportunity in a way as well to shine a bigger spotlight on Lions Gym at all?
Yeah. I suppose you could say we're a relatively new gym. We've been around what 13, 14 years now. I mean, new on the at least the scene of creating fighters. You know, I was always the only really prominent fighter out of our gym. We've had a few others now. Um, and as everyone knows, it's when, you know, one person makes it on the scene, then your gym start, you know, it creates that snowball effect, and people start recognizing your gym, maybe start coming to your gym, or it starts to inspire the members in your gym to maybe take the sport a little bit more seriously. So yeah, I would really love for this um to be the, you know, the crux of that shift, and as to really put Lions Gym, I mean Coventry in general as well. We've not produced many fighters historically, but I do know it's you know, it's a working class city.
Mm.
I know many good fighters within this city, both when it comes to you know, boxing, jiu-jitsu, Muay Thai, MMA, you name it. But it's just people have just tended to stay within Coventry for whatever reason, I don't know. Um, so yeah, I'd love for this to help inspire some people to branch out and to start to take the sport a little bit more seriously, and put Coventry on the map.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. You've mentioned in the past, and I think it's really good that you have mentioned this in the past. Obviously, the gym, it is in an impoverished area of Coventry. Um, people, you've had messages saying how important the gym is for the community and things like that. What does that mean to you when you're getting these messages and knowing that you're making even just a little difference in your local community?
Yeah, so it's, you know what, it's never something I pursued coaching for. Like I started coaching, just it just sort of happened, you know, like I presume many coaches. I just started covering the odd lesson here and there when the main coach was away, and then it just transpired into a job over the years. And it was fantastic because it meant I could be in the gym more, I could train more, and it funded my training, etc., etc. Um, and it never occurred to me the importance of the sport until I started, you know, speaking to people or receiving these messages. And now when I think back to it, it's absolutely fantastic. You know, to almost have the appreciation, to have that, you know, such a life altering effect on some people in a net positive way. For me, it can't be overlooked. Like I've said to many people before, like when you go on your deathbed, you know, everyone wants to almost be, you know, remembered. Everyone wants to be remembered, and if you're just a selfish person, I don't think you'll get remembered. At least not for the right things. But if I can have an impact on, you know, just a few people, and then that might transpire to a few more people, you can really, you know, make a huge impact within your community. Heck, you know, maybe even you know, bigger than that. So yeah, it really, it means a lot to me, and it's definitely inspired me to want to pursue coaching even more, and do more with it.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And just on that topic, how is life at the gym at the moment? What's the vibe like in there at the minute?
Oh man, yeah, the gym is absolutely fantastic. So we've got a couple of big things in the pipeline. You know, we're sorting out some pretty big seminars. You know, we're hoping to have you know, a possible extension, and we're sort of partnering up with another business. So there's a lot of good things in the pipeline. And like I said, just the general vibe, the general energy of everyone in the gym is super positive. You know, not just for myself, but my other fighters as well. Like I said, we've got a few fighters underneath me, and everyone's doing so well. And I really think 2024 is gonna be a very good year for our gym.
Yeah, love to hear it. Hopefully that does turn out to be the case. Um, moving back to Octagon, they've been fantastic with the UK show so far, obviously starting back into last year. Um, as somebody helping bring through the next generation of talent in the UK, do you feel like we're about to, or maybe possibly are, in the the sort of best generation of UK MMA that we've seen in a long time, at least?
Yeah, dude, without a doubt. I mean, all you got to do is we've got Tom Aspinall and Leon Edwards. You know, we've got two champions out of the UK, and what makes this so great is they're out of the UK. Like, no, you know, discreditment to Michael Bisping, but he did it out of America.
Mm,
You know, Aspinall and Leon, they've done it from the UK. Obviously, they would have trained elsewhere, but predominantly the UK based and UK taught. And it just, you know, then they're not just strikers, how everyone always thought the UK, you know, athletes would be. They are super well rounded. You know, Aspinall's got fantastic grappling and wrestling, and man, Leon took down Usman in round one. You know, so just to that there alone shows the level we are finally on as a country. And you know what? There's just something about the UK, and this is what I'm so passionate about this country for, is our genetic pool is so tiny in comparison to Russia, to America, Brazil, China, all these huge countries. Yet we always, when we put our minds to something, we could do so well in sport. I don't know why. Maybe there's just something about the British people. Um, but yeah, like I said, such a tiny country, a tiny genetic pool to have two UFC champions at this present moment, and God knows how many coming through. Arnold Allen, etc., etc. It's yeah, it's only going to get better. It's only going to get better.
Yeah. And I think you mentioned that there, the grappling side of things is where we've always lacked over here. And now we're getting to that point where we look like we might be on a level playing field. And it's a scary prospect, I think, for, other countries looking into the UK, because I think that's where they thought, yeah, we've got them there. And now it's like, maybe we haven't.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, historically, look at just jiu-jitsu within the country. We had two of the best grapplers come over to teach jiu-jitsu here in Braulio Estima and Hodger Gracie. I'm blessed to learn from Braulio myself. But that already is like a huge thing, one of the greatest jiu-jitsu players of all time in Hodger and a Hall of Famer in Braulio. So our jiu-jitsu has always been good. And I think what makes our wrestling so good for MMA is we only do MMA wrestling. We do
Mm.
cage wrestling, we do takedown to wrestling. Whereas the Americans, they do freestyle wrestling and they've got a super, they're very passionate about freestyle wrestling, but that isn't MMA wrestling. Anybody that's trained freestyle would know the nuances, the differences between the two sports, and it doesn't always translate. Jack Shaw showed this. I can't remember which fight it was, but he took down, I believe, it was an NCAA, Division One wrestler off the cage. So yeah, I think this is where we're going to come from our own. We, in my opinion, historically got good jiu-jitsu, and now we're focusing so much on MMA wrestling rather than wasting our time with freestyle. It's going to pay off, or it is
Yeah,
paying off.
yeah, absolutely. So you've spoken in the past about not having any base in martial arts when you first got into MMA. What was it that drew you to it?
Um, so it would have to be my dad. My dad was he was a soldier. He was a biker. He would always tell me stories about how he'd get into scraps and street fights and stuff like this. And I think most boys look up to their dad as their role model and they aspire to be like them. This is why I've got tattoos and he's tattooed up and like I said, I just wanted to be like my dad. And I didn't I never found my calling. I played a bit of rugby from when I was about 11 to about 15, let's say. And, that was sort of the manly sport and I was happy with that. But it just didn't really scratch that itch as such. And then I seen it was the Ultimate Fighter UK versus USA on TV, and I knew there and then, like that is what I'm doing. There's just I cannot tell you as to what about the sport, you know, um, mesmerized me as such, but it captivated me. I knew immediately then that's what I'm dedicating my life to. And, I've said it before, and I went out, I got a job, I paid for my gym membership, and that's all she wrote. I've been hooked ever since.
Yeah. How difficult were those first sessions? Like, a lot of people they'll say, I've done karate or I've done a bit of like jujitsu or I've done a little bit of boxing, but for you to have nothing at all, like how difficult was that at first?
You know what? Well, back in those days, I feel like an old man saying that. But back then, nobody really did much anyway. Everyone was pretty green with martial arts. Like I remember, I didn't even know what Brazilian Jiu Jitsu was. I just knew MMA, and that was very much how it was. I started in a not too great gym. I remember a couple of things. To be fair, I remember sparring a massive 18-stone bloke, me only as like a 15-year-old kid, and him almost taking my head off. And I remember I was like I would still spar after that, but I remember I had a real bad flinch response, because I was just
Yeah.
so scared of being hit after being absolutely levered by a big dude. Um, I remember as well, because again back then there was your Brock Lesnar's, your Shane Carwins, and it was the golden era of heavyweight MMA. And I remember telling them, I want to be a UFC heavyweight champ. And I was a tiny kid, man. And they were laughing at me, they were laughing at me. you know, because I was so small and I was so shit. But to be fair, look at me now. I'm not a heavyweight, don't get me wrong, but hey, at least you know, I'm still cracking on with this sport even after people, you know, doubted me and judged me. But yeah, no, I wouldn't say they were too challenging, especially when you love the sport so much, and especially when you're an underdog as well. When you go into, you know, a gym full of men as a small kid, nobody expects anything from you. So, you know, not even myself, I didn't expect anything from myself. So yeah, it definitely wasn't too tough. You know, of course, it had some challenges, but it wasn't too tough.
Yeah. um, so I only listened to this earlier today, but you mentioned with Ike MMA, you're a big food lover. So I've got to ask, have you got a big post-fight meal planned?
Oh God, yeah. I've been calling them out, man. Five Guys, like I'm blessed because Five Guys at Resort World. So again, many fighters will attest, especially like on the domestic shows, like when I fought on Golden Ticket. You know, I'd be the co-main or main event. I'll be finishing at like 11 or 12, and the only place is open is McDonald's. Now, if somebody comes at me and says, you know, they rate a McDonald's burger, I might fly and headbutt them, you know, because that is not a burger. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Let's be real. You know, I'll have it, but I'll be very unsatisfied with it. So, yeah, the post fight meal is normally awful. But, man, like I said, I think I'm third fight in, so maybe I'm fighting about 7 p.m. It's in Resorts Worlds. There's a Five Guys. Five Guys, man, you got to sponsor me. You know, you save me some money. You know, I got bills to pay, I've got dogs to look after, and I spend too much money on burgers. But no, yeah, I'm gonna get two bacon cheeseburgers all the way. Sometimes I have jalapenos, but my stomach is not agreeing with the jalapenos too much anymore, so I normally cut them out. Large Cajun fries, and it does depend on either a Biscoff or a Reese's milkshake. And yeah, then we'll see. Then we'll go on from there. You know, uh, I'm a food lover, man. I'm obsessed. Oh, I've already booked so many meals. You know, I'm going to the Wing Fest, going to the Burger Fest. Like Jesus, yeah, it's one of my favorite things to do.
Love it. Love it. Five Guys, get sponsored in the man.
Hmm.
Um, so another topic you spoke about with Ike was the subject of social media influencing boxing, MMA. You've got your Jake Paul's involved with PFL and obviously having that fight with Mike Tyson. And one thing I actually agreed with you on about it was the positives in it outweigh the negatives. I think the negatives are big in it, but I think the fact that it's going to bring so many eyes to the sport just in general makes it just about worthwhile. You look at you've got organisations across the UK. You've got Weapons Down, Gloves Up. You've got MMA Rap, which is a charity based in London, which uses MMA to help disabled and disadvantaged kids in the area. How vital are these organisations and MMA in general to young people?
I truly think they are pivotal. You know, the kids that are making the wrong decisions in life. Like if you speak to most fighter, for example, you know, what if you weren't fighting, what would you be doing? A lot of them would say, you know, they would be maybe in the army or they'd be a criminal. You know, that it's just because the energy we've got, like people want to try and disguise their masculinity and try and, oh no, men aren't supposed to fight or men aren't supposed to be violent, etc., etc., etc. Unfortunately, that's in not all men, but a lot of men's DNA. They've got this energy or this need to exert themselves somehow. Um, and if you don't find a way to do so, I think it can have some negative consequences. And that's the beauty of MMA. I think MMA can be used as an outlet for a lot of these men where it will take them away from the street. It will give them a focus in their life. Um, it will give them positive role models. Uh, yeah, I think it's critical. And have said it before as well. I do think I think it will prevent bullying to a massive degree. You know, if we look at the stereotypical kid that's bullied, they're a geek, they're smart, they're physically um, you know, they don't have a lot of physicality, let's say. But when we look at jujitsu, for example, they tend to be the best. From my experience as a coach, I've been coaching jujitsu for, you know, over 10 years now. And genuinely, the kids that come in with, you know, who are piss weak, but super intelligent, they get smashed for maybe 3 years. And then just something clicks. They start to understand it. They just become this savant at jujitsu and they just start twisting people up. And I think that will help a lot of like the, you know, typical geeks who are getting bullied is when they realize that physicality to some degree is actually meaningless when they start to apply their brain into technique. And then it will also teach the bullies, that you might be big and strong, but you will get twisted up by a kid you like Mike Musumeci. You know what I mean? You'd look at him on the street and think, Fanny. And then he's breaking every bone in your body, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it's critical. I think there's so many positives to be had via the sport that yeah, I think the government should be pushing it, whether it's mandatory at school or whether they invest more in these organizations. I have no idea. I'm not a politician, but I can see the benefit it's had on my life. I can see the benefit it's had on many people around me's lives, and yeah, it's. I don't think I've ever spoke to anybody who's had a negative experience with it or said, "Man, I wish I didn't train."
Mm.
So yeah, it's super important.
Yeah. Do you think there's also a societal problem in that aspect as well? People will probably think to themselves, if I wasn't a fighter, I'd probably be in a gang or in jail because I'm from such and such a place. I'm not meant to amount to anything.
Yes, no, yeah, that is. I would agree with that. So I went to. I mean, it wasn't a great school. Don't get me wrong, but it was more of like there was a lot of middle class kids in my school. I was always like a working class kid. Don't get me wrong. I didn't grow up with hardship or anything, but I was always a working class family. Went to more of a middle class school, and yeah, you do feel the pressure of you know you aren't going to amount to much. Again, I remember in school, they were trying to force university on people. I didn't want to go university. I wasn't cut out for it, and they almost made it seem like you would fail in life if you don't go university and if you didn't do whatever society tells you to do. So yeah, I'll definitely say society has an impact on maybe keeping people in their place almost.
Yeah. Yeah. It's the terrible outlook to have, isn't it? Why just because you're from a certain place should it not mean you can go and conquer the world in whatever you want to do?
Mhm.
Yeah, it's terrible. So before I let you go, then, mate, fight night next week for people who might be tuning into Octagon for the first time or might be tuning into your fight for the first time. What can people expect from you when that cage door closes?
So, I mean, just watch my fights. I'm gonna come forwards. I'm gonna get hit, and I'm gonna hit him back. It's pretty self-explanatory. We're in a fist fight, um, but I'll come forwards. We'll have a good scrap, and both my wins and my losses in professional have all been via stoppage. One of us is going to get stopped. Whether it's a knockout, whether it's a submission. I don't want either of us to walk out there with a decision if I can help this. So yeah, I like to think it'll be a good scrap. I like to think I'll show different levels to my game as I always do, and with such a long period of time off where I know I've been improving, I like to show. I think I'll show a huge increase in fight IQ and just technical and tactical mechanics. But yeah, I can guarantee a fun fight. I can guarantee a fun fight, and I can't guarantee a finish. But if I was a betting man, I would put money that one of us is going to get stopped.
I love it. I love it. Well, James, thank you very much for your time. I really do appreciate it. It's been wonderful to chat with you. And hopefully next weekend, I won't be there in person, sadly, but I will be watching it at home. And I look forward to seeing you getting your arm raised.
Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure.
Same to you, mate. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you.